Bumping, and my beat is bumping.
How you
bump,
feeling,
bump,
Chrissy boy?
Hipping on the dance floor. I feel horrible.
You gonna make it through?
I'm gonna make it through. I just hope this. It's like that real fun game where you like take a bunch of sleeping pills and then try to masturbate and see if you can get off before you fall asleep.
Oh,
yeah.
You guys don't do that?
Oh, I didn't know.
I do.
I didn't know about the one with like the masturbatory part of it.
Yeah.
No.
You gotta try to see if you can get it done.
I have that, and now I have like a crippling addiction to both sleep aids and masturbation.
It just won't happen. It just won't happen without the pills now.
Right. Wait, what won't? The masturbation or the sleep?
Neither of them, and also our podcast, which is called Wiki Wiki What? And my I'm one of your co-hosts. My name is Dana.
I'm Chris.
And I'm Jake. And on this show, we choose random Wikipedia articles that begin with the letter of the week. We keep them hidden from one another until the time of recording, and then we come in and crack some jokes.
Crack wise.
We crack so many jokes. We go alphabetically, and this being the episode that's number corresponds with the letter that we're currently doing. I did not do that math beforehand. So this episode, we are all doing articles on the letter M.
That's right.
M.
We should probably make sure we tell people who might be new to the show. Do you want to do it, or do you want me to do it?
I'll do it. It's supposed to be in my section anyway.
Ah!
So, Wikipedia is crowdsourced information, so the podcast may be incorrect. Anything we say might be a lie.
Yeah, question everything, I think, is the takeaway.
That's what Dr. Spock said, right? Dr. Spock? Was that his name?
Yeah, that was him.
Oh, Chris, I hope you feel
I don't
better
know.
soon.
I don't know if he ever said that, but Dr. Spock was a guy.
Well, so yeah, we're doing M, and we keep our articles a secret from each other. And we like to just do a little preview. So a little teaser, and then we decide who kind of goes first. So I think, you know what? I think, Dana, you should probably go first and give us your teaser for what your article's going to be.
I haven't done it in a while.
I know. We got off of that joke.
I have we gave me a slight reprieve.
Yeah.
All right. I'm down. So my hint is, if it's too expensive, just rip parts out until it's not.
That's exciting.
Yeah.
Jakey boy, you want to go second?
Sure.
He's still writing his.
No. I wrote it, but I don't know where I wrote it.
We hear a ton of typing.
I wrote it on the bottom of my foot. Give me just a second.
Oh no, my shoe's back on.
Okay, no, all right. So mine is a quote from someone in the biz. It says, "I'm not trying to dupe anybody. I'm just trying to get my films watched. Other people do tie-ins all the time. They're just better at being subtle about it."
Okay.
I'm very intrigued.
Some blatant tie-in.
Yeah, mine is I'm doing mine on it's a man who is a historical figure, and here are two things about him. He is known as the hero of two worlds and was a member of the Society of the Friends of the Blacks.
All right.
So there we go. What do you guys think? Jake's is very intriguing to me.
Jake's is intriguing, but I'm super, super worried you're going to be falling asleep before
I need to get mine
the
out
end
of the
of
way.
the episode. So I don't know. Like, I'm on the fence.
I'm good to go. Let's do it.
You want to go first?
Yeah, I'll go first.
Jake, what do you think?
Yeah, let's hear it.
Okay, Chris, go.
Although I want Chris to make jokes during mine.
I will do my darndest.
You need to make sure you're awake enough.
So mine is on the man Gilbert de Motier Marquis de Lafayette.
Awesome.
Oh.
Or his original name, which is just a horrifying mouthful, is Marie Joseph Paul Yves Roque Gilbert du Motier Marquis de Lafayette. He is anybody familiar with Hannibal?
Names.
Yeah, it's just they were worried they weren't going to have enough names. Anyone? Did I just say Hannibal?
You did.
Yeah.
We're up to a
You
really,
did.
really great start.
Oh no, I 100% meant Hamilton. He's the French character. He's a large historical figure who
my
had
God.
a ton. This is gonna be fun. Who had a lot of
His name was Anthony Hopkins.
yes. No, Lafayette had a ton of influence in both the French and American revolutions, and I'm not going to be able to cover everything because of
there's
his
too much.
Wikipedia page is enormous and like just awe-inspiring and
Give
amazing.
us the cliff
I'm
notes.
gonna hit you with just kind of some things that I don't think a lot of people would know that are pretty interesting. So, he's born September 6th, 1757. That's something that nobody knows. And spoiler alert, not alive anymore. He passed away.
Spoiler alert, he died.
Yeah.
The ripe old age of 300.
He died. It was him and Alan, Alan Thicke. They had a suicide pact. That's not a good joke. I'm
God,
sorry.
I thought you were going to say Alan Tudyk, and
I was
like,
very close. But he passed away May 20th, 1834. He was a rich little baby French boy. He comes from, his family is the Lafayette name particularly. It's one of the oldest and most distinguished like family names in the south of France and
Sure.
like possibly all of France. And all of the men in that line, they were renowned for their chivalry and their courage. That's what they were known for.
And their amazing hair.
And yeah, and that fake white hair. I don't even know exactly what relation this is, or like how far away from him. But Gilbert de Lafayette III was a Marshal of France and was a companion at arms for Joan of Arc during the Siege of Orleans.
Huh.
And there's a rumor, and this goes just all Crusade things, but during the Sixth Crusade, they say that a Lafayette acquired the crown of thorns, which was the thorny crown that was placed upon Jesus' head.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so there's a lot of...
How many crusades were there?
I don't know, at least 6.
At least.
I thought there were only 4.
Well, nope, not according to the French, and not according to the French rumor mongers.
Oh.
So that was on his father's side, and on his mother's side, his great grandfather was the commander of the Black Musketeers, who were like King Louis XV's personal horse guard. So they were like the
guarded the
musketeers who
horses.
rode horses. I don't think that's what that meant.
They
but
made
I
sure the
think-
horses didn't die. Because the
They were-
horses were very important to commerce and
Yeah,
and the
super
military.
worried about these horses.
Yeah.
And so his father passed away on the battlefield when Lafayette was only, I think he was like 1 or 2, just shy of 2 years old. So he wasn't around, obviously, to kind of help raise him. But his father, he was a soldier as well, and he was struck by a cannonball while fighting the British during the 7 Years' War.
God, that's so savage.
Did
yeah,
he die?
yeah. It took him out.
You guys have seen The Patriot, right? When that cannonball bounces off the ground and just like takes off that dude's head.
Yeah,
Oh my God.
that's what they say. That was based off of this.
Oh.
I just made that up.
You should write it into the Wikipedia.
I should just submit that.
And that's a little facty factoid on the sidelines from Mr. Chris McCullough.
There it is. So his father passed away. He was kind of like deeded all of the lands and stuff, but he was obviously an infant at the time. So a lot of them were put in his mother's name, and he just kind of like lived that life for a little bit. His mother went to live in Paris, and so he stayed at his family estate with his grandmother and was raised by her until he was 11. And then at 11, he moves to Paris and he begins his schooling in a broader sense. So he actually attends school at the College du Peace, Plessis,
Yeah, you probably said that right.
which is part of the University of Paris. He decided he was also going to carry on his family's martial tradition, and he joins this thing called I don't know how to speak French, guys. This is horrible. The Comte?
Sound it out.
Comte?
No, that doesn't work. In
The
French,
Comte?
dude.
Probably.
What?
Anyways, it was a program for like boys who wanted to train to become future musketeers. So like kind of like baller Boy Scouts.
So, okay, we'll go with Baller Boy Scouts.
Yeah, he joined the Baller Boy Scouts and just kind of continued to do that. He kept succeeding, and he had just so much fortune at such a young age, but also a lot of misfortune because obviously his father passed away, and then he also lost his mother and his great-grandfather, the guy who was in charge of the Black Musketeers. They both passed away in April
accident.
of the same year.
Oh, yeah, another cannonball accident.
Yeah, it was a rogue. It was actually the same cannonball. It kept
Just
traveling,
kept bouncing.
Yeah, so they both passed away. Well, and that's even weirder because one died on the 3rd and one died on the 24th. So that cannonball, boy oh boy, had it out for him. So, anyways, they passed away, and then it left him with an income. It's just a bunch of money here, but basically he had a yearly income of 120,000 livres.
I thought, is francs a more modern?
I think so. I don't know. It just says that, which presumably is a lot of money. By the time he's 14, he was commissioned as an officer for the Musketeers.
Hell yeah.
And did but his duties were mostly just ceremonial. Like he had to present himself to King Louis and then just basically did his own stuff. It's around this time that this guy Jean-Paul Francois de Noailles,
You got it.
the Duke Ardennes, was looking to marry off some of his daughters. He had 5 of them, and he said, "This Lafayette kid, I like him. He's got a little problem with cannonballs, but he seems like a good egg." So he decided that he wanted Lafayette to marry his 12-year-old daughter, Marie Adrienne Francois, and spoke to Lafayette's guardian, who was his uncle at the time, and they were like, "Oh, we should try to get these kids married." Jean-Paul's wife said, "Hey, these are babies. Knock it off." Which I'm really pleased. I'm really pleased that this is like the first time I've seen in history like a voice of reason saying like, "Oh, maybe like kids shouldn't get married."
Yeah.
Maybe
so
not arrange this.
Yeah. So she was like, "No, man. Like, back off on this." But then they were like, "Okay, but how about this? How about we just kind of trick them into like being around each other a lot, but we won't mention marriage at all." And for 2 years, that's exactly what they did. They just kind of kept arranging ways for them to kind of meet and interact and stuff.
That is so high school.
Yeah, and they fell in love, and they got married. So at 16, they started putting together the marriage certificate and agreement, and they got married. And the marriage lasted up until his wife passed away. So it that did its job.
True love, dude.
What's the French, dude? Romance.
La romance. So so he's getting married. He's a young man in Paris. He became he continued his education, and he became a lieutenant in the Dragoons, which are a mounted combat group. He never saw any sort of combat. I think a lot of these are just figurehead kind of title positions. Of course, he was learning warfare and stuff like that, but was never really deployed. Excuse me. And so he's spending time at his father-in-law's house in Versailles, because that's where they wanted him to live and kind of build his relationship with the family, because he didn't have any other living family that was kind of around for him on his side. Sad to say, damn cannonballs. So he's there for about 2 years, and then at the age of 18, he returns to Paris because he was a captain in the Dragoons now. And in this time, he'd also become a Freemason, and kind of was there's a quote here where he was fired his chivalric and now Masonic imagination with descriptions of the Americans as people fighting for liberty.
Right.
So like he started hearing more about the rebellions and stuff, and it was something that was very interesting to him. And so there's a interesting story about something that happened. He was at a in 17 I keep saying 19. In 1775, he was at a dinner party.
He was at a disco in 1975.
He was cutting it on the
His
floor.
discoteca. He saw the Sugar Hill Gang perform. So no, he was at a dinner party, and the guest of honor was Great Britain's Duke of Gloucestershire,
Gloucester.
who was Gloucester. Thank you.
You're welcome.
who was the younger brother of King George, and he was actually condemned because he married somebody who King George didn't agree with, and so he was condemned and like kind of put to the side. So a little way for him to like exact revenge was by constantly talking about how hilarious it is what these like, you know, commoners and these settlers in America are doing to the king. They're like causing them all this problem, and they have no resources. And this is around the same time where France has actually said they're going to support them by sending arms and officers over there. So that like it was kind of this perfect storm where Lafayette's at this dinner, he's listening to this guy speak about how like dumb England is, and he also is mad at Great Britain because of his father's death, and he kind of attributes that to them as well.
They wouldn't be France if they weren't mad at Great Britain.
Yes. And so what happened was he kind of heard that. He was like, oh, so we're sending aid, we're sending them weapons and officers. I want to do that. So he goes and he's like, hey, yo, your boy wants to go. And he talks to this guy, I forget what's his name, something Dean. And basically they decided to promote him in the French army, and he became a major general at that time. And so
all of this was no field experience at all, right?
Yes, nothing, never been deployed, and that's the thing is
just
like
a super smart kid, like
he didn't see his first battle until he was in America. Actually.
In America,
yeah, which didn't go well for him because he got shot in that battle. But I'll get there in 1 second. So he kind of gets this promotion. He's a major general. He's going to be sent to America. That's like everything's coming together in a perfect way. So at this time, also though, what happens is his father-in-law is like, nuh-uh, not happening. He gets mad, and he makes Lafayette go to London to visit. So he's staying with the ambassador to Britain, and which is also Lafayette's uncle by marriage. So it's like father-in-law's brother. He goes there, and he actually stays there. He went there in February of 77, and was like, they were just trying to get him to denounce the plans to go to America. Lafayette was actually presented to George III, and he spent weeks there, where just supposed to be embracing English society and realizing that this wasn't something that they wanted to go against. While he was there, it didn't change his mind. He said, I'm still going. When he came back, his father-in-law was furious, and he convinced King Louis to issue a decree forbidding French officers from serving in America.
Oh.
And he specifically names Lafayette in that decree.
Ooh.
And so it was like this weird thing where Lafayette was like, nah, still going.
Going there.
And so the king actually put a order for Lafayette's arrest at this time. So it turned into this really weird thing. And so that's all the pre-war stuff. And now this story is just mind-blowing that the way he gets to America. So the Continental Congress doesn't have money for his voyage, and it's now supposedly against the law. This new decree just came out. So what Lafayette did was he was like, hey, I'm rich. I'm just going to get a ship. So he commissions a ship with his own funds. He spends, it's 112,000 pounds that he spends to just get to America. There's other officers and people who are still, supporting this, who are going along on the ship. So they all get onto this ship. But what happened was Lafayette also, he wanted to get information about his family's reactions, and he got all these letters from his wife and other relatives, and it made him really kind of upset. So the ship left, I think, where were they? In Bordeaux. They left, And then he said, "Oh man, I feel bad. We got to go back." And so he made the ship turn around, which a lot of people were upset about.
Yeah.
So they go back. They board in Bordeaux. At this time, he hears that the army commander wants Lafayette to report to his father-in-law's regiment in Marseille. So he's like, okay, I guess I'll do that. But then all of a sudden, this other guy, De Broglie, I want to say his name is. Anyways, he's a guy who hoped to become a military officer and political leader in America. He was like all for the war. So he meets with Lafayette in Bordeaux before he leaves to go meet his father-in-law, and he convinced him that the government actually wants him to go. So he just 100% lied through his teeth. And it says like this just wasn't true, and there was like a lot of public support for what Lafayette wanted to do in Paris, but the government was like, no, you can't go. But he said, you know what, I'm going to believe this guy, and so he gets back on the boat and goes to America. The other thing that happened on this travel across the sea.
That's such a huge lie to believe. That was such a big voyage.
That's like there's a thing on it, like on the Wikipedia, where they're saying like, yeah, it was pretty obvious that this guy was lying, but Lafayette was like, I'll just go, I guess. So they're going, and the ship's captain, who wants to make some money, he intended to stop in the West Indies to sell the cargo that they had on the ship, but Lafayette was like, I might get arrested if we do that, so
let's just go right on through, okay, guys?
Literally, that's what he said, and the way he got them to agree with it was he just bought all the cargo on the ship.
Cargo, right.
Yeah, he was just like, here's some money, let's get there.
God, that's so shady. I love it.
That's kind of where I'll leave that. The rest of it is the stuff that most people know. American Revolution. He's around there. He actually becomes really good friends with George Washington and Hamilton. He is very good friends with Thomas Jefferson. So he's shot in his first battle, which was his first time seeing any sort of combat. He's laid up for a little bit. He spends time the first Winter and Valley Forge that really solidified how shitty this was going to be for everyone.
The infamous,
he's there.
Yeah, the infamous winter.
Yeah, he's there with Washington at that encampment. So that's where a big bond kind of forms there. He's, an influential part in a lot of the war. He actually goes back to France at one point, is arrested when he arrives because of the arrest order that was put. So he was put for 8 days. He was at under house arrest. But at this point, it was kind of like they had to support the war. Benjamin Franklin's in France and helping, and Thomas Jefferson's there. So that's where he kind of influenced a lot of things there as just kind of a diplomat. He goes back to America, finishes the war out. That's when he starts being known as the hero of two worlds, because he helped the American and kind of influenced a lot of the French help there. He gets involved in all sorts of politics and other stuff in
kind of a lot of
France.
activist stuff at the time.
Yeah, and that's where he
France,
actually he became a French abolitionist and joined that group, the Society of the Friends of the Blacks.
Right.
Which I just thought was maybe the worst name for just sensitivity wise, it seems like not the best name for an abolitionist.
They weren't sensitive back then.
Yeah, they were just like whatever. But just he was very forward thinking and was really into all of rights for people, basically.
Sure.
So he writes what is it called? The Declaration of Human Rights is what it's called, I think.
Yeah,
Declaration of the Rights of Man.
Jefferson helps him write that, doesn't he?
Yes, exactly. So Jefferson helps him write the Declaration of the Rights of Man. It's what a lot of the French society ends up being based on. He's like almost at one point the like King Charles X after Louis dies was like, you know what, I'm gonna bring back the monarchy. And he Lafayette, help me. And Lafayette was like, nah, bro.
No,
that's not what I want. So there's like just even in his old age, he was still involved in a lot of, kind of upheaval and was all about the revolution and rights for the people. So that's basically, that's Lafayette. And there's two little things that I think are kind of cool is that he actually named one of his sons, George's Washington Lafayette.
Yeah.
And then Jefferson kind of had talked him into also naming one of his daughters is Marie Antoinette Virginia Lafayette. So it's just a tribute to what had happened and what he'd been involved with in America.
What went down.
And when Lafayette passed away, they actually honored him in the same exact way that they honored after George Washington passed away.
Yeah.
And both houses of Congress
Wow.
were draped in black for, I want to say it was like 2 months. Yeah,
Yeah, it
President
was a
Jackson
long time. Yeah.
ordered that, that both houses of Congress were draped in black bunting for 30 days. The members wore mourning badges.
Yeah, it was really a long time. And they actually
Yeah.
they named a couple like towns and stuff after him too.
Yeah, there's a ton. He's a huge figure and a huge namesake. And when he's buried next to his wife in France. But the really cool thing is that he's actually buried under dirt that was brought from Bunker Hill.
Yes.
Oh,
I heard about
Yeah,
that.
there was like a lot of tribute and a lot of like it was a great man who did great things and in the end was respected in the way that was appropriate. And so that's Lafayette.
There you go.
That's good.
There you are, gentlemen.
I like that. I like that.
I like that.
Hey, thanks,
I
France.
like that.
Thanks,
France. All right.
Who do you
give
wanna
me
go
them
next,
clues
Chris?
again? Yeah, give me them clues again, real quick.
Okay. My clue was if it's too expensive, just rip parts out until it's not.
All right. And then Jake's was some really vague thing about movies and tie-ins.
Yes.
All right. You know what? I think because I think I possibly know what Dana's is, so I want to hear about it. Let's go, baby.
Me?
Yeah.
All right. Today I'm going to teach you about Madman Months.
I am so wrong. I was like Mars rover.
No, not at all. Okay. So
Madman Months.
Madman Months.
Sounds like a venereal disease.
Sounds like
It is.
sounds like a villain from a comic book.
And I've got it.
So Earl William Madman Muntz was an
Nice.
American businessman and engineer who sold and promoted cars and consumer electronics in the United States from the 1930s until his death in 1987.
Okay.
And he was kind of the one who pioneered the whole crazy salesman kind of character with his alter ego, Madman Muntz. And he would generate publicity with these weird, like, flashy costumes and stunts and, like, a whole bunch of outrageous claims, you know. And this is pretty nuts. He actually pioneered car stereos entirely.
Oh.
Like, he was the guy that made that possible.
Are you guys tired of carrying your radio?
Yeah, are you...
Well, see, you used to have to sit in the car and hold the boombox on your shoulder.
yeah.
And
Which
it was
is
really difficult to drive while you were wearing roller
It's
skates.
very,
Yeah.
very difficult. Yeah, he created something called the Muntz Stereo Pack, or better known as the 4-track cartridge, which was a predecessor to the 8-track cartridge, which we all know.
Oh, wow.
That's half as many tracks though. Come on, guys.
Well,
Not
you
as-
got to
yeah.
start somewhere. I like this next line in the Wikipedia article that reads, "He invented the practice that came to be known as muntzing."
Oh, dude, I munts all the time.
Right? Chris taught me how to munts last summer, and I've forgotten everything about it. No, so actually, muntzing was basically the process of simplifying otherwise complicated electronic devices, and I'll go into this a little bit later, which is part of my clue. Right?
yeah, I was gonna say, there's
so,
the time.
So he produced and marketed the very first black and white television receivers to sell for less than $100 at the time, and created one of the earliest functional widescreen projection TVs. I don't know if you've ever seen one of those widescreen TVs where it's like a giant. It's almost like a projector screen, and then there's a projection unit kind of like down below the screen, pointing up at it. Yeah.
Uh-huh.
So he was the guy that like pioneered that. It says
Great.
It says here that he was actually credited with coining the abbreviation TV for television, but it doesn't go super into that, so that might be a kind of grain of salt sort of thing.
Prove it.
Dude was a high school dropout, made a fortune selling cars, TV receivers, and car stereos.
Okay, self-made man.
Yeah, a 1968 LA Times article noted that in 1 year, this guy sold $72 million worth of cars, $55 million worth of TVs, and $30 million worth of car stereos and tapes. So think about that in terms of like the time and
The time that it was happening, yeah, that's
Dude
alarming.
was super alarmingly
He's
rich.
just straight walking down the street, like breaking out windows.
Seriously.
And stuff, right?
So I guess the moral of the story, guys, is drop out of high school and become a car salesman.
Everyone, all you kids, drop out of high school.
What could go wrong, right? He founded the Muntz Car Company, which made the Muntz Jet, which was a sports car with jet-like contours. This is actually a really rad-looking car if you take a look at it. It was manufactured between 1951 and 1953, but only about 400 were actually made. So huge collector's item.
Huh.
Muntz was married a whopping 7 times.
Sounds appropriate.
In a row?
In a row. Glistening in the sun. His wives included Joan Barton, who was a movie star who appeared in a movie with John Wayne, and Patricia Stevens, who founded the Patricia Stevens Finishing Schools. And a finishing school is basically a school for young women that focuses on teaching social graces, upper class, cultural rights, as a preparation for entry into society. And in the U.S., we actually refer to them as charm schools, which might be a more familiar term. Phyllis Diller was at one point one of his many girlfriends.
Wait, that raspy-voiced lady?
Yeah.
Oh, boy.
So he was friends with...
I feel like I'm supposed to know who that is, but I don't.
You would recognize her if you saw her or heard her.
All right, let me Google it.
She was a very, very important...
Google it up.
And prominent celebrity. He was friends with tons of them. He knew Rudy Valley. He knew comedian Jerry Colonna. He knew actor Burt Lahr. He knew Dick Clark. He knew Gene Autry. So,
we got that museum.
Yeah.
I bet there's a bench. I bet there's a Mad Dog bench. Madman
Muntz. So a little bit about his early life, which is really, really interesting. He was fascinated by electronics as a kid. He built his first radio at the age of 8. So what did you do at the age of 8?
I think I broke an action figure's leg off and stuck it up my nose or something stupid like that.
Yeah.
I swallowed so many perler beads.
Yeah, I was drawing pictures of Ninja Turtles at age 8, and this guy was making radios. He built another radio for his parents' car at age 14. At that time, I was not doing that. I was doing musical theater.
Yeah.
And now look at
me. I'm making
yourself.
a podcast about Wikipedia.
Mister, when you're from Skid Row, ain't no such thing.
At age 15, which was during the Great Depression, he dropped out of high school, and he worked in his parents' hardware store.
Okay.
So he opens his very first used car lot in his hometown of Elgin, Illinois in 1934 with $500 in credit, right? And at this point, he's only 20, and he actually needed his mom to sign the car sale papers because he was legally too young to close his own deals.
At 20?
Yeah.
Did you look into car sale closing laws?
No. But this is
20.
This is Wiki
He's
Wiki
an
what,
adult.
dude? I don't look that
No, man,
much into it.
because you can't even rent a car until you're 25.
Yeah, to
Doesn't
sell
make
a
any
car, I
sense.
imagine it, around the same age.
I would hope.
He visits California for vacation and notices, hey, cars sell for a shit ton more here. So he moves out there at 26 and he opens a lot in Glendale. And here's where things go insane.
Okay.
On a hunch, Muntz buys 13 brand new cars to resell, okay? The cars were originally built for customers in Asia, but they couldn't actually get them over there because of World War II. And one of these cars was actually a custom-made Lincoln for the leader of the Republic of China.
Oh.
Yeah, so local newspapers are running stories about these super unusual cars, and Muntz sold all of them within 2 weeks.
Boom.
Still in their shipping crates. So, dude,
wow.
Yeah, super successful at getting those moved. He was known for rejecting the common opinion back then that used car salesmen should be kind of boring, respectable, dependable people. And he realized he could drum up a whole lot more publicity by acting literally like an insane guy. Hence the name Madman Muntz. And this is about the time when he started developing this whole persona.
That has to be 100% like related to the fact that he was getting this like press coverage from like doing that weird purchase of Asian communist cars.
No, he probably tapped right into his
like I'm sure that like that just kind of like made that connection in his brain. And he's like, well, guess what? I could do that without buying cars that are meant for dictators.
Yeah, I could buy pieces of shit and just be a crazy guy.
Yeah.
Right. So because he was the first person to do this, he quickly became famous.
Yeah.
He came up with like these really crazy marketing ideas. In his commercials, he marketed one model as the daily special and claimed that if the car did not sell in one day, he'd smash it to pieces on camera with a sledgehammer.
Ooh, nice.
His commercials got so much notice that comedians like Bob Hope, Jack Benny, and Steve Allen like tried to outdo each other on TV by telling his jokes. Like retelling his jokes. So guy had permeated the social.
Yeah, the zeitgeist. He was in it.
It's crazy. So I got some facts here about the car that he helped create, the Muntz Jet. Cadillac V8 engine, aluminum body panels, and a removable fiberglass top. Had extravagant paint schemes like Mars Red and Stratosphere Blue and Lime Mist, which sounds really refreshing.
Oh, that sounds great.
Yeah,
That's like one of those ugly like seafoam colors that you can only see on cars from like the 50s and 60s.
Yeah.
I'm poo-pooing that color. Poo-pooed.
He had some interior options that included alligator, of course.
Or
I like this one in quotes, Spanish leatherette.
Nice.
Sounds very sexy. The backseat armrests contained a full cocktail bar.
Oh, the 50s.
Oh, boy.
You can't do that anymore.
And
they just get mad at you.
Yeah. The Muntz Jet is said to be the predecessor to the Chevy Corvette and the Ford Thunderbird.
No.
So, although he played this crazy salesman in his commercials, he was actually a really shrewd businessman and actually a self-taught electrical engineer, as I mentioned earlier. Yeah. He commonly tried to figure out just how to reduce devices' electrical components to their minimal functional number, which was known as muntzing. So throughout the 1940s and 50s, most televisions were super complicated, really expensive. For instance, I think that the cheapest TV before World War II had like a 3-inch screen, and it cost $125, which would be over $2,000 today.
Yeah. Jeez.
So obviously the costs were super prohibitive. Only about 55% of households had a TV at the time. So Muntz would. It says here, Muntz would routinely wander around his factory with a pair of wire clippers. If he thought one of his employees was, quote, over-engineering a circuit, the dude would he would just go to town on it with the clippers until the picture or sound stopped working. He would then go, well, I guess you just have to put that last part back in, and walk away.
That's
oh, man.
fantastic.
I would be so annoyed if somebody was doing that to me.
But this allowed him to really keep his costs down because he would literally cut out everything that wasn't essential to the device. Which is it's crazy to me that like not all the parts are essential to begin with. You know? Like what are you putting in there that's not?
They got to pad that bottom line.
Yeah.
Just add all.
Well, it's like they say
all
about
that gold
those
bullion in there.
those Beats by Dre headphones that have those superfluous metal parts in them that just kind of make them heavier because people equate weight to quality.
Right. Yeah.
That's
exactly that. So Muntz would have come around and grabbed those things out of there. He was actually the very first retailer to measure his screens from corner to corner rather than by width. So that's where we get that.
I kind of hate that though.
Kind of hate it. I do a little bit.
Yeah. I want to know its footprint. I don't care how big it is diagonally.
Right, especially with different aspect ratios.
Yeah.
Muntz, please.
Person, please.
So,
Person, please.
as you might expect, his TVs worked best in urban areas where you lived closer to a transmission tower because there's literally nothing in these TVs, so you had to be really...
boosting. Yeah.
like really close. And they worked very poorly in like rural areas where there was a lot weaker signal. But
Got me again, months.
it worked fine because his business model was focused on urban dwellers that had a lot less money. So he sold to them. He kept the Madman thing up for his TV business, which he started after that. And in one commercial, he actually dressed in long johns and a Napoleon hat, and while promoting his new 14-inch TV, said, "I want to give him away, but Mrs. Muntz won't let me. She's crazy."
Oh, did he inspire those leads? No, Sit and Sleep. What is it?
Dude, he inspired a whole bunch of people.
All of them.
What are those commercials I hear on the radio?
You're killing
every
me,
day,
Larry.
like,
Yeah, you're killing me, Larry.
me.
Yeah, exactly. You could say that's a direct descendant from Muntz. Exactly.
There you go.
In a radio ad, he screamed, "Stop staring at your radio!" So
what was his
his
objective
justification
with that
was
claim?
buy a television and stare at that. Don't stare at your radio, idiot.
Oh, okay. It was
Yeah.
for the TV business. I
Right,
did not connect that.
That's pretty smart.
He would actually follow up his radio ads by mailing TV knobs to thousands of prospective customers with a note that said, "Call us and we'll show up with the rest of the set."
That's amazing.
Yeah.
That's pretty good.
So I actually have a soundbite from one of his commercials from
yeah.
1951, if you guys want to hear that.
Of course I do.
All right, so
I
I'll
do.
just pop this open right here.
Yes.
Break it out.
To you, and that's the reason why the factory way, no dealers to pay, it costs you less to buy for television quality. There's something about a must TV.
Right? Super charming.
I like it.
Yeah.
Super
I
charming.
wish jingles were like that again.
That sounds like something right out of a Fallout game.
That's what I was thinking. I was like, I don't know if it's that charming. It sounds like
It sounds
everyone's dead.
super post-apocalyptic. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, despite a lot of his early success, sales actually began to decline as people started to improve TVs and, in general, and there were a lot more competitors. And his creditors were like, "Yeah, we're not really going to keep funding this." He lost.
Right, because he kept cutting all the parts
Yeah.
out.
I was gonna say, yeah, they visited the factory and they were like, "Oh, this is no way to run a business, sir."
Yeah, he lost a ton of money in the mid 1950s, and he closed up his TV business in 1959.
Oh,
Yeah, but as I mentioned earlier, he also pioneered what we call a 4-track cartridge system. So he moved on to car stereos.
okay.
And the 4-track was super popular because it could play a complete album without changing tracks or turning the tape over, and it didn't suffer any skipping while driving. But they were also obscenely expensive, totaling to over $1,000 in today's standards. And for a while, only celebrities could afford them as sort of this like aftermarket item in their fancy cars.
Dude, the things we take for granted, right?
Right.
You don't even think about it. Before that, you used to have a record player in your car, and that would be ridiculous.
And
Right.
before that, you used to have to have that like big brass band that you would
Yeah,
lug
you had
along
to have the
in the back
whole
of your
band
truck.
crammed in the back seat like a clown car. Frank Sinatra, Dean Martin, Barry Goldwater, and Jerry Lewis all had a 4-track in their car.
Of course they did.
So they had a month's 4-track.
They could afford it.
The biggest issue with this technology was that people were actually returning the tapes as they got bored with them. And
He had to be like, no,
and
no.
they were expecting credit towards new tapes, and Muntz was like woefully unprepared for the amount of returns that were happening. And it quickly became an unprofitable business, and he had to shutter that
that's
business.
sad.
Yeah.
Well, he shouldn't have been taking those returns, dude.
So, yeah. As I said earlier, he was in the 1970s. He was the very first one to create a widescreen projection TV for home use, and those were actually really successful again to his unorthodox advertising methods.
Okay.
And I got a little bit more here. In his later life, just before his death to lung cancer in 1987, he centered his business on cell phones. So this guy's like all over the place, right? Cell phones, satellite dishes, and he had a motorhome rental company called Muntz Motor Mansions.
That's wonderful.
I love it. At the time of his death, he was actually the leading retailer of cell phones in the Los Angeles area. So
What?
yeah, crazy. Guys was super.
I've never heard of him. I'm very surprised.
Yeah, he was. I think he was just like, super successful in like super short bursts, right? Like he was like on fire for a little while, and then like completely went downhill as everybody else started making the thing he did.
Exactly. He was such a pioneer, but didn't have like the business savvy to like keep it
power.
up.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's just real tragic. Now I'm sad.
Yeah, so
I've just been picturing him this whole time in like one of those like polyester like checkered suits.
Oh, I looked up a picture
yeah.
of him, and you are not wrong.
Yeah.
during his final years, he drove a customized Lincoln Continental with a television in the dashboard. He claimed that it
baller.
helped him drive better, quote.
Oh no, sir.
Oh my god, dude.
Yeah.
Is this guy my spirit animal?
So as we picked up, his madman method was later copied by other retailers.
Yeah.
Most notably for the time was Cal Worthington in California.
Oh, my boy Cal.
Go see
right
Cal.
down the
Cal,
right down the
dude.
street from me.
Yeah, go see Cal. And then there was a guy named Crazy Eddie in New York who was same kind of salesman. Yep. And go ahead.
No, that's just amazing. That's fantastic.
Yeah, and then in 2001, after his death, he was posthumously inducted into the Consumer Electronics Hall of Fame. So, thanks,
okay,
Muntz.
that's a made-up thing, but
Yeah. And that's all I got.
That's great.
Well,
There we go.
That's good.
Madman.
That's good stuff.
Madman Muntz.
Madman Months.
I loved it.
Mad
It
Max.
feels good to say
Mad
it.
Max.
It feels good to say it with my mouth.
I liked it.
All right.
All right, Jakey.
I guess it's my turn.
Bring us home with your M. Night Shyamalan.
I feel, Christopher, like this is something you're going to know a lot about, actually.
I weirdly might.
I'm surprised Chris isn't asleep yet.
I'm feeling it, and I am fighting it and love it.
All right. So I'm going to talk about a topic called the mockbuster.
Mockbuster.
Oh.
So a mockbuster, also known as a
Oh,
knockbuster,
yes.
is a movie created with the intention of piggybacking the publicity of a major movie with a similar title or subject, or both.
Oh my God!
And are
This
made
is
with
Bugs
low
Life
budgets.
And ants.
No,
Right,
see,
this
no,
is
those are more of like those
are both-
What's that phenomenon where it's like multiple people come up with the same idea at the same time? And like sometimes it's worldwide, like they're in different places, but like the same kind of technological advances happen at the same time. That's like one of those people's like weird arguments for like that we're a collective consciousness and stuff like that.
Yeah, it has the word hive in it. It's
Yeah.
somewhere in there. Yeah, it's kind of that, but let me
It's
go a little
but
deeper.
way
It's
shittier.
like that, but shitty.
Yeah.
Right. So mockbusters are movies that are generally produced concurrently with upcoming films and are released directly to video
Yeah.
around the same time that the mainstream film reaches theaters. So what'll happen is Hollywood will go, hey, we're making this movie, and then some kind of third-rate studio will be like, you know what, we can make that movie faster and cheaper and get it out on DVD before your thing hits the streets. So, mockbusters may be similar in title and packaging, similar enough that consumers confuse it with the mainstream film that they're mimicking.
Oh man!
And then that's when your grandma buys you the mockbuster movie or video game for Christmas.
Yep.
Because it's pretty similar. So, the producers of mockbuster film studios maintain that they're not trying to confuse you. They're just simply offering additional products for people who want additional films in the same subgenre.
Bullshit.
Right?
Bullshit.
So,
Yeah.
straight up. So, these films tend to fit the B movie model, not to be confused with the B movie Jerry Seinfeld. But so I was reading this and I was like, what is a B movie? Like, you hear that go around a lot, and like, what does it actually mean? And it's a movie that's produced on a small budget and is derivative of the target film or similar projects. And originally, B movies were low budget commercial movies that are not like art house films, so they're not like indie, and they were shown in theaters, but they were created to be the second half of a double feature, and they're like kind of close to the first movie, but they don't cost as much to make, and they kind of get the residuals from the people who were in the theater.
That's got to
for the
be a
first.
morale killer to be like, you're making the movie that's playing second fiddle to the thing that's going to be successful, and you know that from the outset.
That's when but those people are just in it to make money. They're not.
Yeah, I
in it
guess
for
they
the
don't
art.
really care.
They were just like, yeah, no, give me that check.
Right. So we don't really do second features today. It kind of stopped in like the 1950s, but people still use the term B movie to represent movies that are like low budget.
Oh, I
like,
kind of thought that it was like so it's not a true grading scale. It's like it's
just
B, A, and B of a double feature.
Yeah.
Okay. I learned something tonight.
Finally.
Congratulations.
Finally, I got
What is this? Episode 13. We finally learned something. All right. So there are two kind of major studios that I want to touch on tonight that make mockbuster films. The first is called Good Times Entertainment. And they were notorious for making mockbuster counterparts to Disney films in the 90s.
Yeah.
Although a lot of the movies that they made were based on stories that are public domain. And the second is called The Asylum.
Yes, Asylum films I'm familiar with.
Yeah, so after this show, I'm going to name a bunch of movies. You can go watch 90% of these on Netflix right now. So Asylum is an independent film company. They're American. They focus on low-budget direct-to-video films, and they make all of the Sharknado movies.
Yep.
So I found out that there are actually 5 Sharknado movies.
No, there are
over the
not.
course of-
Real snart Sharknado.
All right. So there's Sharknado, Sharknado 2, the second one, Sharknado 3, oh, hell no.
Yep.
Sharknado 4, The Fourth Awakens, which came out right around the time at the end of 2015 when The Force Awakens Star Wars 7 came out. And the thing looks like it. And then Sharknado 5 comes out next year, and it's called Sharknado 5 Earth Zero. So there's also a mockumentary about the making of Sharknado, and it was called Sharknado Heart of Sharkness.
That's wonderful. So they did a B movie of or a mock movie, a mockbuster of Heart of Darkness. That's wonderful.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh
so
god,
Heart
that's
of
so
Sharkness.
meta. It's mind blowing to me.
It's super meta. All right, so back to Good Times.
Oh.
So Good Times really capitalized on kind of knocking off Disney movies. But the Walt Disney Company eventually sued Good Times because the videotape packaging so closely resembled Disney's that they felt that their sales were being jeopardized. So they sued Good Times, and the lawsuit mandated that all Good Times movies say the word Good Times at the top of all of their art.
Right.
So
Notice that they weren't called Great Times, by the way.
no, just Good Times. So they released a whole lot of movies in the 90s, and some of them had like the exact title of the Disney movies because the stories were public domain and they couldn't copyright that name. So they released movies called Aladdin, Beauty and the Beast, Pinocchio, Sinbad, Little Mermaid,
remember
Three
these.
Musketeers,
Yeah.
Thumbelina, Pocahontas, Hercules, and they released a lot of these like within like 1 to 2 years of when the Walt Disney Company had released their movies. Sometimes it was before, sometimes it was after. They also released this one, which I thought was really funny. It was called Leo the Lion, King of the Jungle.
Yes.
And it came out like a month after Lion King. I don't know.
That one
I
seems
read
like
the
it's
synopses for some of these, and they're all real close, except for Leo the Lion, King of the Jungle. That one was about a lion that was like kind of a jerk.
it like also like barely like resembles in title The Lion King.
Well, it has The Lion King, like those words
Those
in order,
words
but there's
are-
like a bunch of words around it.
They'd show up in a Google search.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Or, I'm sorry, they'd
All
show
right.
up in a Yahoo search.
There you go.
right, because it was 1994. Okay, so while Good Times was capitalizing on Disney films, the Asylum focused on mainstream movies. And the company was founded in 1997, but they didn't enjoy a whole lot of success until 2005 when they made a low-budget adaptation of H.G. Wells' The War of the Worlds, which was released the same year as Steven Spielberg's War of the Worlds movie. So Blockbuster, the video rental company,
That existed
ordered
once.
it existed at this time in 2005. They ordered 100,000 copies of Asylum's War of the Worlds, which was like far more than anyone had ever ordered before. So people were going to Blockbuster and be like, "Oh, there's that movie," and they like
oh my god!
rented it and everything.
100% a mistake too.
They ran it was a mistake.
Had
it
to
doesn't
have been.
say it doesn't say that it
Had
was a
to.
mistake,
Had to
but
have
there's
been running
no
that
way
game.
it wasn't.
That's
There's
amazing.
no way it wasn't. So, the success of the War of the Worlds at Blockbuster caused the CEO David Michael Latt to like rework his business model, and he realized that hey, people will see these movies if we put them out. So he started making all these mockbusters a few days prior to theatrical releases of the movies that he was mocking. So he just starts putting out all these movies, and since 1997, the Asylum has released 138 films,
Oh my god!
Yep.
which is a lot in, 19 years? So I actually just want to give props to the Asylum for having the ability to, like, coordinate all of these releases. That is insane. So they've released 138 films, most of which are mockbusters, but they had some original films, like I talked about, Sharknado. They also released the Mega Shark series with, like, Mega Shark versus Giant Octopus.
Sharktopus.
Yeah, versus Sharktopus versus Crocodile or something. Like, they put out a whole bunch of these movies. And people eat them up. And the Asylum has never posted a loss on any movie.
Oh my god!
Yep.
So they've made 138 films and have never lost money.
That's wonderful.
So, obviously, the Asylum gets a lot of flack for putting these movies out, and some people have accused them of like having spies at studios who
Yeah.
feed them ideas. So the CEO comes back and he says, "We don't have spies at the studios. We have a general sense of what the film is, and then make our own movie, completely original, just based on that concept."
That's
right?
wonderful.
So this is when we go back to that quote where he says, "I'm not trying to dupe anybody. I'm just trying to get my films watched. Other people do tie-ins all the time. They're just better at being subtle about it. Another studio might make a giant robot movie that ties into Transformers release and call it Robot Wars. We'll call ours Transmorphers."
Did they? Did they make a Transmorphers?
Absolutely. They also made Transmorphers 2, Fall of Man.
Of course they did.
So I saw this quote on the Mockbusters Wikipedia. It's a quote from Box Office Magazine editor. Her name's Amy Nicholson, and she said, "Can you trademark an actual noun like the idea of a battleship?" And this comes up because Asylum was trying to make a movie to mock Battleship, and they were trying to call it American Battleship. But Universal Pictures took them to court and said, "You can't call it that." So they ended up calling it American Warships.
Okay.
Anyway,
These
they
workarounds
got
are
in,
brilliant.
they got a lot of legal trouble, but I got some real fun kind of. I just got a list,
Of course you do.
of their stuff. So
I was
I'm just
actually
gonna
waiting for
read
the
off.
list.
Yeah.
Here it is. All right. So, I also want to, before I go into the list, I'll just start off with this quote. There was this movie called Snakes on a Train that they made. And Snakes on a Train capitalized on the internet hype surrounding snakes on a plane. And the CEO said, with only 4 days left of shooting, my partner called and said, everyone's really excited about Snakes on a Train, but they're more excited about the poster, which showed a snake swallowing a train.
Yeah.
And it said, it was meant to be, metaphorical, but the buyers wanted it, so I was given the mandate that the ending had to have the snake eat the train. So with 4 days in production left, he makes the movie end with a giant snake eating a train.
I love it.
Which I gotta respect. Like, he heard the people.
That's incredibly
made
flexible.
the movie.
Incredible.
Right? He made the movie.
That's how you keep people happy.
So I'm just gonna rattle off a quick list of these. You tell me if you think you know what movie they're lampooning.
Oh, jeez. Jeez.
As a secondary, I'm going to chime in on the ones that I've seen.
Okay, so Snakes on a Train.
Seen.
Obviously,
Snakes
Snakes
on a
on a
Plane,
Plane. The Da Vinci Treasure.
The Da Vinci Code, yeah.
Yeah. Okay, Transmorphers and Transmorphers 2.
Obviously, Transformers. I did
Okay.
just look up that Transformers 2 was called like Age of Extinction, and Transmorphers 2 is The Fall of Man, and I'm
Yeah.
like, that's real loose, but I like where they're going.
Okay, Hillside Cannibals.
The Hills Have Eyes.
Oh, yeah, there you
Hills
go.
Have Eyes, that's right. AVH, Alien versus Hunter.
All right, Alien versus Predator.
Yeah. Oh boy.
Okay, Street Racer and its sequel, 200 Miles per hour.
Oh,
These are like really loose Fast and the Furious.
yeah, I was going to say Fast and the Furious,
Fast.
right?
Fast and the Furious. Okay, Paranormal Entity.
Paranormal Activity.
Right on, right on.
I've never wanted
Abraham-
to binge movies more.
Abraham Lincoln versus Zombies.
Oh, Abraham Lincoln Vampire Hunter?
Vampire Hunter.
That's right, that's right. Okay, so Hansel and Gretel.
Wasn't that actually the name of the movie that...
No, the other one was called like Hansel and Gretel, like Witch Hunters or something like that.
That is correct. When I read that, I was like, Witch Hunters sounds like the Asylum movie.
Yeah.
But here we are. They came out with a movie called Android Cop.
Android Cop?
RoboCop.
I hope that it's not RoboCop and that it's like
RoboCop.
Blade Runner.
I really liked this one. It's called Alan Quartermain and the Temple of Skulls.
That Alan Quartermain.
Is it the Indiana Jones?
Yeah.
Indiana Jones and the Kingdom of the Crystal
Jeez,
Skull.
Alan Quartermain?
Please
Dude,
tell
you
me there's
got
more of
to
those.
look up the... I don't know if there's more Alan Quartermain movies, but the poster for this one is incredible.
Yes, Alan Quartermain in the City of Lost Gold.
Quartermain.
So there's this movie
Oh my goodness.
called Independence Day, and it's INDEPENDENTS apostrophe.
No.
And it's about, obviously, it piggybacked off the sequel to Independence Day, but
They're just begging for lawsuits, and that's wonderful.
yeah. They also made a movie called Atlantic Rim. You can do anything in Hollywood. So, in 2017, we can look forward to Jurassic Kong,
Nice.
which is a crossover between Jurassic Park and King Kong. The Angry Bears, which is a crossover of the Care Bears and the Angry Birds movie.
That's confusing.
And the Cyber Rangers, which they're going to mock on that Power Rangers movie that's coming out next year. So,
Hey, guys, remember Power Rangers?
Power Rangers. Yeah.
yeah. So,
We're doing them again. with a mix-up.
other than...
The subtitle of the movie is, again, really? Power Rangers, again, here they are. Again.
I'm probably going to go see that movie. So, other than American Warships, the only time that Asylum's ever had to change their name is they were making a movie called Age of the Hobbits. And
Oh, no.
they renamed it to... they ended up having to name it to Lord of the Elves or Clash of the Empires, depending on what region you're in. And basically, the deal was... this movie is about a prehistoric struggle between a community of these, what are they, Homo florensis, which are like really small, like pre-humans.
Yeah.
And their brutal oppressors, the Java men. And the
God.
hobbits ally with early humans against the Javas. And it says, according to Asylum, in ancient age, the small, peace-loving hobbits are enslaved by Java men, a race of flesh-eating dragon riders. The young hobbit Gobin must join forces with their neighbor giants, the humans, to free his people and vanquish their enemies. So, this came out right around the time that The Hobbit was coming out, and New Line Cinema and MGM were claiming that they were trying to free ride on the world promotional campaign of Peter Jackson's forthcoming films. Of course.
And they said,
Of course
yeah,
they are.
that's what we're doing.
That was 100% what they were doing.
That's the
So-
move, brother.
Asylum claimed the movie's legally sound because the hobbits in its own movie were not based on the Tolkien creations of the hobbits from, the Lord of the Rings universe, and rather from the community who started referring to the bones of this smaller subspecies of human as hobbits. So he's like, they called them hobbits, we're making a movie about hobbits right now.
Wow.
And that's it. That's your mockbuster.
That's amazing.
I always knew they existed. They were there in the back of society, right? But I never really gave much thought to the fact that they were an empire in and of themselves,
Yeah.
or that they were all like the same company. Like I always, for some reason, going through the video store, like going through Hollywood Video or Blockbuster, I always thought that they were like some like down on their luck, like, oh, I'm making my first movie, but like I don't think people will buy it if it doesn't sound like, you know what I mean? No, this was completely
No, one on purpose.
calculated by a corporation to make these movies.
It is
So
intentional and profitable.
yeah,
Like,
obviously.
my buddy Jeff and I, we would walk home. There was a 92-cent video place on the way home from walking home from the bus from school in like middle school. And we would drop in there every day, and we would get what sounded like just like the worst. So I'm like highly versed on B movies because of that. And we watched like there was like a one called Murder Cycle. It was about this motorcycle that was sentient and murdered people. Just like things like
based
that
on Christine, right?
are super. Yes, are
Is
just
that where
like
you got Seven Lucky
Super
Ninjas?
appealing. Yeah, Seven Lucky Ninjas. We saw that there. We saw Monkey Bones, but like a lot of these are like kind of classic horror movies now that like are just B movies that are archetypal. But these what are they called? Mockbusters. I like really want to
Mockbuster.
get into this. I've seen some of them, and I
Oh,
you'll
wait,
see
I
them in
forgot
the
one.
store.
I forgot one that I wanted to list. I wrote it on my notes somewhere else, and I didn't put it on here. So there's this movie called Dead Seven, and it's a mockbuster of the Magnificent Seven, and it is directed by Nick Carter of the Backstreet Boys.
No.
And the Dead Seven.
Oh my goodness.
It has a whole bunch of former boy band members in it.
Yes.
And it's a
I'm looking
post-apocalyptic
this up right
zombie
now.
horror western.
Yes.
It's written by Nick Carter.
Yes.
And it's got Howie Duro and AJ McLean from
Yes.
Backstreet Boys.
Oh my God.
Jeff Timmons from 98 Degrees. Joey Fatone and Chris Kirkpatrick from NSYNC.
It's Joey Fat One.
And then it's Joey Fat One from NSYNC. It's got some dudes from O-Town and All for One. It's got
Were they just like, hey, we're not popular anymore, let's make a movie?
lead-
What's going on here?
Yeah, it's got the lead singer from Everclear, Alex Axis,
Yeah.
or whatever his name is. It's got all these people in it. It came out April 1st, 2016. I don't know if it's on Netflix.
Well, we're gonna find it, and we will have a screening party, and we'll get back to the listeners.
But I saw that, and I went, incredible!
Yes.
Did you
So,
exclaim it just like that?
Yeah, it said, set in a post-apocalyptic West, a ragtag band of assassin gunslingers, led by Jack, Nick Carter, team up to rid a small town that's full of zombies. The zombie plague is led by Apocalypta, who wants to take over the town. Now Jack and his crew are about to come face-to-face with a team full of zombies as they attack wherever they go. And when they arrive in town, the battle begins.
I'm in love.
Jesus.
It looks like it went through Sci-Fi Network.
Yeah, that seems like something Sci-Fi would pick up.
Oh,
I love it.
That's it.
there we go.
Great.
That's the whole
Great
show.
job. Great job.
Yeah, wrap her up. Let's take her out.
No, I'm not.
Let's
I'm
wrap
not
it.
done.
Oh,
Okay.
No, I'm done.
say more things.
I'm done.
All right.
Mad Men months.
All right.
Mad Men Months.
Thanks everybody for listening. Still really enjoying that engagement on social media. I got to admit, I love it. I check it every minute.
Oh no.
No, you don't.
Every time somebody likes, I see it. Every time somebody unlikes, I'm like, oh,
You try to win them
pissing
back.
me off.
Yeah.
Pissing me
Yeah,
off.
you
It doesn't show me who it
you
was.
accost
but
them on
please.
Facebook. Send them a private message.
I go, what the hell? You know?
I handwrite letters.
Anyway.
Yeah.
Oh, actually, I had one of my friends text message me and say he wants that special hug or kiss you were going to give him.
Oh, it's
for liking
happening.
All right, I'll let him know.
Point them in my direction.
Anyway, like us on Facebook, follow and retweet us on Twitter at _WikiWikiWhat. Visit our website at wikiwikiwhatpodcast.com or send us feedback or suggestions at wikiwikiwhatpodcast@gmail.com.
Yeah, and we're doing one of these every 2 weeks, so we'll be back with you in 2 weeks for another Wiki Wiki Wednesday, and we'll be doing some topics that start with the letter N. N is next.
I want to thank everybody as well. And my offer does still stand. Special hug, special snug, little pat on the head, little pat on the patoot if you like the show and just request it of me. Yeah, a little pat on the patoot. But yeah, I think that's it. So, hey, it's 3 a.m. Stop reading Wikipedia and go to bed.